Guys, Beltran here, the IT veteran, and alam ko medyo nawala ako sa Facebook and YouTube because of certain commitments in terms of yung sa company ko and my workplace. Pero right now, medyo lumuluwag na yung schedule ko. So, ayun, I can now do Facebook videos and YouTube videos again. Okay, tungkol sa pagiging isang IT. Now, ang i-discuss natin for this segment or video is tungkol sa pagiging isang technical desktop support. Okay? So, yung previous video natin, I think ang diniscuss natin was yung pagiging isang computer technician. So, ngayon naman, i-discuss ko yung pagiging isang desktop support engineer. So, let me just switch lang sa aking screen here. So, makikita ninyo, marami tayong openings in terms of desktop support engineer. Oops. Okay, marami ka makikitang desktop support engineer. Pero ano nga ba ang ginagawa usually ng isang desktop support engineer? So, yun ang sasagutin natin in this video. So, I won't be editing na this video. This will be a one-shot take kasi sinisingit ko lang siya sa schedule ko. Pero hopefully, you learn something from this one and you enjoy it. Okay? So, let's start. Open ko lang ang aking PowerPoint presentation. Okay. So, wag na tayong maging fancy sa ating PowerPoint presentation. Ang iniisip ko lang naman is for you to learn. Okay? Mas marami kang matutunan kaysa maganda yung presentation natin for this video. So, yun ang gagawin natin. So, yun. Ang topic natin for today is desktop support engineer. Yung career na pagiging isang desktop support engineer. So, ano nga ba ang job description ng isang desktop support engineer? It's still similar to yung skill sets ng pagiging isang desktop support engineer is similar sa pagiging isang computer technician, pero medyo mas broader na yung kailangan mong knowledge base. Anong ibig sabihin nun? You still need to be able to fix computers, pero you're not actually going to yung do replacements, swap out the motherboard or build a brand new computer. Okay? So, wala na tayo sa skill sets na ganun. Ano pa ang skill sets na usually kailangan mo na you have to expect sa job is phone skills. Primarily customer support skills. Kasi majority ng mga isusupport mo na employees will be on their desks. Probably nasa 50th floor yan o nasa 20th floor. Tapos ikaw na desktop support, sabihin na natin, nasa 5th floor ka lang. Okay? Alangan namang every time na may tatawag sa'yo to ask for your assistance in terms of yung software na ginagamit nila or nagka-problema yung PC nila, maglalakad ka doon papunta sa lamesa nila. That's not actually a very good time management or workplace management behavior. Typically, for a desktop support engineer, kailangan mong makapag-troubleshoot remotely. Okay, majority ng time mo will be supporting people and troubleshooting their concerns remotely. Okay, so may mga tools na ipro-provide sa'yo sa workplace to help you do that. So, wag kayong mag-alala. So, you have to be able to work remotely to troubleshoot issues, and usually nasa may phone ka na. Ay, kausap mo yung sinusupport mo. Now, pinaka worst case is if ever man hindi mo siya maayos remotely, then that's the only time you will be walking to their desk. Kung nasang lugar man sila sa kumpanya ninyo, then you troubleshoot it from there. Okay? Or kung talagang hindi mo ma-remote yung computer nila, sabihin na natin, nag-fail yung hard drive or na-disconnect yung network connection nila or na-disconnect sila sa wifi nila, hindi nila maibalik yung connection. That's the only time you will be going to their location. Ano pa? This is an example. So, this is a picture of me noong 2007, 2008. So, as you can see, yan yung lamesa ko on the left. May telepono ako dyan for me to be able to take in calls. And on the right, ayun yung headset ko. Kasi I was working with a BPO then. Up until now naman, nag-work pa rin naman ako sa BPO industry natin. So, you need to be able to troubleshoot remotely. So, nakikita nyo rito, let me just grab lang yung highlighter. Highlighter, laser pointer, yan. Okay? So, makikita nyo, ito yung lamesa ko. Ayan yung phone na ginagamit ko, it's an Avaya. So, you need to be able to also troubleshoot Avayas. Basic lang naman. You don't need to know everything about Avaya, just the setup of the phones. And makita nyo dito sa likod ko, makita nyo, we're using IBM before, business machines, and CRT pa yung monitors. Okay? Ano pa? Majority ng mga desktops na isusupport ninyo will be business machines. Business machines, ang ibig sabihin nito is branded na mga computers coming from either Dell, HP, or Lenovo. Ito lang naman yung tatlong malalaking desktop providers ngayon. Now, this is kung malaking multinational company ang napasukan mo, okay? And you're a desktop support engineer there, yan yung mga usually computers na ita-troubleshoot mo or i-install mo. Pero kung maliit na kumpanya yung napasukan mo, then primarily yung mga computers nila will be yung kung ano yung nakikita nyo sa bahay, yung regular desktops for consumers. Pero kung multinational company yan and malaki yung budget nila in terms of IT, then they have these computers. Now, you will also start to support then mga laptops and cell phones. Primarily business laptops and business cell phones. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Yung mga laptops na to, hindi ito yung mga nabibili sa labas na laptops. These are bought directly from Dell, HP, or Lenovo and used as primarily business applications. So, nakikita niyo dito sa likod ko, I have a business laptop. Okay, maliit lang siya. Okay, hindi siya pwedeng pang gaming. Kasi merong nakaload dito na application that the desktop support engineers ng company namin are managing. Natatrack nila kung ano yung mga applications na nai-install. And automatically, nakikita rin nila, may audits kasi yan eh. So, kunyari, naglagay ako ng uTorrent, hindi pwede yon. Matidetect ng company namin and masasandan ako ng memo. Okay? So, primarily, business laptops. So, ganun din, you will also start to support mobile devices, primarily iPhones and Androids. Kasi yung mga managers sa kumpanya ninyo will actually want to receive some of their work on their mobile devices, primarily email. So, kailangan nilang makita yung business emails nila sa phone nila. So, you will also start supporting mobile phones as well. And yun, you need to be able to deploy also business machines. So usually kapag may bagong shipment ng mga desktop computers, laptops, telepono, the desktop support engineer is the one who will do the unpacking and installation ng mga equipment na to. Okay. Ano pa? Yun, aside from computers, desktops, laptops, you will also still troubleshoot pa rin mga printers, hard drives, webcams, ano pa ba? Scanners, IP phones, or mga telepono. Similar to a computer technician. Okay, so, at least kung meron kang basic knowledge ng mga to, you must be able to troubleshoot. Pero not exactly repair. Okay, and I will get to that specific part later. Kung ano ibig sabihin ng not exactly repair. Okay, yung mga IT equipments. So, ano pa? You will be starting to learn technologies such as mass deployments or operating system deployments on a massive scale. Ano ibig sabihin nito? hindi na lang pa isa-isa yung computers na ini-installan mo ng operating system. You will be using tools such as yung Microsoft Endpoint Manager para makapag-reformat ka, kumbaga. Okay, yun yung basic term. Makapag-reformat at makapag-install ka ng operating system on multiple computers at the same time. And hindi ito yung nag-i-install ka from scratch. You will actually be having something called an image. Image, ang ibig sabihin nito is a custom operating system na naka-install na lahat ng kailangan ng usual employee ng kumpanya ninyo. So, aside from yung image na yon will have Microsoft Office. It already has balikan natin. It will have an operating system, Windows. Okay. Majority naman is Windows. Then, it also already has yung Microsoft Office installed, yung mga tools na kailangan nila, Microsoft Skype or Zoom, then yung mga custom applications ng kumpanya ninyo. Lahat yon are already pre-packaged sa something called an image. Tapos, ipupush mo na lang sa mga computers. Yung term na push is, ang ibig sabihin nito, mass installation. Okay, without you reconfiguring and going individually to each PC. So, i-identify mo lang dito kung ano yung mga PCs na gusto mong deployan ng image na yon, and once you trigger that into the system, mag-isa na silang magre-reboot and magre-reformat. Ganon din yung sa Microsoft Endpoint Manager. Dati ang tawag dito is SCCM. You can actually remotely install applications and packages without you actually going to the desktop itself. Okay, so may i-click ka lang doon, mag-install na siya ng Microsoft Office, mag-click ka lang doon, magde-deploy na kaagad siya ng custom application ng kumpanya ninyo. Mag-click ka lang doon, automatic mag-install siya ng Windows updates. Okay, so kung magde-deploy ka ng Windows updates on a massive scale, kailangan mo ng ganito. Okay, Microsoft Endpoint Manager. Ano pa? Kasi, for example, take note. This is a BPO. A typical setup ng isang BPO. Bilangin nyo ilang computers ang meron dyan. A typical floor will have around 500 to around a maximum of 1,000 computers. And, isipin mo, you have to deploy an image for this one. Alangan namang isa-isahin mo lahat yan. So you need to have really a tool, something like this, on deploying applications and operating systems on a massive scale. And dyan papasok yung Microsoft Endpoint Manager, which is usually ikaw rin ang in charge dyan in terms of sa Endpoint Manager. Yung actual system ng Microsoft is yung mga server engineers ang in charge dyan. Yung pag-install ng Microsoft Endpoint Manager sa mga servers yan, yung application. Pero yung paggamit ng Microsoft Endpoint Manager, that is up to the desktop support engineer. Kasi siya yung bahalang mag-identify kung sinong computer dyan ang kailangang installan ng package, sinong kailangang mag-update ng antivirus system, or sinong kailangang magdagdag ng additional Microsoft Office tools. So, si desktop engineer ang bahala doon. Okay, so let's move on. You will also be starting to learn Active Directory as a desktop support engineer. Active Directory, ang ibig sabihin nito is bawat employee will have their own username and password, customized username and password for the enterprise or for the company itself. So, ang ibig sabihin nito, kahit saang computer sila mag-login, they will have the same credentials, same access, same tools. Okay, so, tapos na yung araw na isang computer, isang tao lang ang gumagamit. Okay, so, may personal username and password sa computer na yon. Hindi. Active Directory will it allows us to deploy and manage yung user credentials in a large scale sa isang kumpanya. So, dito, usually, ang ginagawa ng isang desktop support is nagke-create siya ng bagong user kung may bagong employee na papasok. Then, isi-set up niya yung username and password niya for the whole organization or for the whole company. Then, siya rin ang in charge, kunyari, for password resets. So, kung kunyari, na-lock out yung employee dahil 3 beses siyang nag-type ng password sa computer niya pero hindi pa rin pumapasok, malalock out yung username niya. So hindi na siya makakapag-login. So it's up to the desktop support engineer to go to Active Directory and either reset the password or i-unlock yung account niya. So that is Active Directory. It helps really to manage all of the access for all of the employees. So you can imagine ito, lahat ng employees dyan nakikita nyo, may kanya-kanyang username and password yan for the whole organization. So, yung agent na to sa gitna might actually be tomorrow sitting on this desk. Okay? So, yung username and password niya, ilalagin lang niya dito sa computer na to, then she can actually work already. Kung ano yung access niya for this desktop will be the same for here. Okay? Pero makikita nyo, ito, sabihin na natin tong lalaking to is a coach or a manager. Iba yung access niya from a regular agent or employee. So, pag itong manager nag-login siya dito, automatic may access siya to Microsoft Outlook. Pero pag itong agent na to, nag-login siya rito sa lamesang yan, wala siyang access sa Microsoft Outlook. Okay. So, yan ang power ng Active Directory. Okay, so you'll starting to be learning about domains, policies, and many more others in terms of Microsoft Active Directory. You will also start to be learning basic troubleshooting skills in terms of computer networking. So fixing cables, identifying VLAN changes, power over Ethernet. You will start to be learning basic networking skills as a desktop support engineer kasi yung network engineer, sila yung in charge ng pag-deploy ng mga equipment na to. Pero the management and actual connections, usually yung mga desktop support ang nag-identify na. Okay, yung in charge dyan. So, ang typical scenario dito is, kunyari, yung floor na to for a BPO, for example. This is for one client dati, yung isang account nila. Okay? Yung isang kumpanya na sinusupport. Pero eventually, kunyari, nag-downsize yung kumpanya na yon, so magkakaroon ng dingding dito. Okay? So ibig sabihin, itong buong ito sa likod will be for the original client and ito may bagong customer, yung BPO, for example. So, ang gagawin doon is, ito will be on another VLAN, okay, virtual LAN. So, you can read up more on virtual LANs and we'll touch base about virtual LANs probably in a future video. Pero ang ibig sabihin lang to, magkakaroon ng logical separation sa network. Okay, iba yung magiging access sila sa tools and other information. So, it's up to the desktop support engineer to identify lahat ng computers na to, saang switches sila nakakabit. Then, isisend niya yung request to change the VLAN of this specific ports. For example, itong ports lang na to the network engineer. Tapos si network engineer bahalang mag-change nun. Okay, so siya rin ang bahala, si desktop support din ang bahala mag-troubleshoot itong cables usually. Basic code lang naman, basic troubleshooting. Kunyari, loose na yung pin niya or medyo nababalatan na yung cable dito sa dulo. Then, si desktop support usually yung nagka-crimp ulit at nagre-terminate nan. Pero kung may tama na yung buong kable, sabi mo na sa may ceiling or others, hindi na hawak ng desktop support yan. That's more for the cabling contractors already. Ano pa? For desktop support engineer, you will also start to be supporting and learning about Wi-Fi. Primarily, enterprise Wi-Fi. Hindi yung Wi-Fi na parang sa bahay. Enterprise Wi-Fi, ang ibig sabihin nito, iisa lang yung signal for the whole floor. For example, may ibang signal for the managers, may ibang signal for the guests, and kahit saang parte sila ng kumpanya pumunta, iisa lang yung signal na kinokonekta nila. So that is more for basic description ng enterprise Wi-Fi. So ano yung mga usually na hahawakan ninyong mga brands for Wi-Fi? Cisco Meraki is one. Aruba is also very prevalent and rakas. Malakas din ang rakas in terms of enterprise. So, wala na tayong hinahawakang TP-Link dito. Wala na tayong hinahawakang yung mga pang-consumer Wi-Fi. Almost everything is enterprise Wi-Fi already. Okay? Yung mga high-capacity Wi-Fi. Ano pa? You will also start to support custom applications ng kumpanya ninyo. Custom applications means yung mga custom programs na dinevelop in-house ng kumpanya nyo. Or yung mga talagang high-end applications, for example, CRM, database, business intelligence applications. Yun yung mga usually na additional na ini-install sa mga computers ng employees. So, ano yung mga examples ito? VMware Workstation, you will start to learn yung details about virtualization, CRMs, Citrix, and Norton. Okay, so these are just examples of the applications. Hindi ko actually masasabi kung anong applications ang hahawakan ninyo because every company is different. So, yun lang ang disclaimer ko sa inyo. Pero expect nyo na marami kayong applications na bago na hahawakan as a desktop support engineer. You will also start to learn about the importance of Microsoft Office. Typically, kapag nasa college tayo or nasa high school, hindi natin masyadong binibigyang pansin ang Microsoft Office. Pero pagdating nyo sa workplace ninyo, kapag nagtatrabaho na kayo, doon nyo makikita yung importance ng Microsoft Office, kung ano yung full power at kung paano talaga siya ginagamit. And specifically, sasabihin ko na rin dito sa video na to, dito sa applications sa Microsoft Office, merong isang application dyan that you have to learn by heart and you need to be an expert in. Okay, you might be asking, ano kaya yun, sir? Excel ba yun? O Publisher? o other applications sa Microsoft Office? Not really. Okay, yung application na yun is something that no one has ever taught you before. Sa college, you might be using Microsoft Office, in terms of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, pero there's actually one application here that you will use for the rest of your IT career, and that is Microsoft Outlook. Yes, Microsoft Outlook. Email. Okay? You need to know by heart how to use Microsoft Outlook. Kasi this is something that you have to understand in terms of business communications. Ang pinaka-primary method ng communication sa isang business, whether inside the company or company to company, is via email. Diyan tayo nagsischedule ng lahat ng gagawin, communication mo between the managers, the staff, lahat yan via email. Okay? Email thread ang tawag. So, dyan, primarily, dyan natin nakikita kung ano yung kailangan nating trabahuin for the next day, ano yung mga projects na paparating, ano yung mga meetings na kailangan nating attendan, and marami pa. Okay? Kaya makikita nyo dito sa background ko, let me just edit lang yung screen ko rito, ha? This is Microsoft Outlook. Dito ko nakikita lahat ng trabaho ko for the next consecutive days and weeks. Dito ko rin nakikita lahat ng meetings ko for the day. So, makikita ninyo, ayan, mga meetings ko. Ito yung araw. Okay? Since nasa call center ako and I'm working night shift. So, primarily lahat ng meetings ko will be nasa around 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Okay. So, diyan ko lahat yan nakikita. This is the number one productivity tool that you have to learn pagdating mo sa corporate world. Emails. So, I can't stress that enough. Siguro we'll be doing a feature video on how yung tutorial kung paano gawin tong Microsoft Outlook, pero That's for a future video. So, balik tayo sa ating presentation. So, click ko lang to. Yan. So, that's Microsoft Outlook. Now, as a desktop support engineer, you will still be fixing computers. Okay? Aside from everything else sinabi ko sa inyo, you will still, at the end of the day, you will still be fixing computers. Pero not as in-depth as a computer technician. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Primarily, desktop support engineers, ang aayusin nyo lang talaga or ang pakikialaman nyo lang doon sa mga computers sa kumpanya ninyo is primarily the hard drive and the memory. Okay, kung nasa isang malaking kumpanya ka, primarily ang concern lang ng desktop support engineer is the memory and the hard drive. Almost lahat na ng components sa loob ng computer na yan, medyo hindi na natin pinapakialaman as a desktop support engineer. Bakit yung dalawang equipment lang na yan or peripherals, kung gusto niyo ng technical term. Unang-una, lahat kasi ng data ng computer na yan is nandun sa may hard drive. And sometimes yung mga files din ng mga users mo will be on the hard drive. So that is the most important equipment doon sa loob ng computer na yan, the hard drive itself. Now, second na pinapakailaman ng desktop support for the computer is the memory. Kasi usually when yung company nyo will order the computers, lahat yan will have similar specs. Sabihin na natin 8 gig, 500 gig, 8 gig RAM, 500 gigabytes of hard drive or 256 SSD hard drive. Okay. Pero in terms of the processor, usually ang ginagamit lang naman natin is i5, i3, or i7. Okay. But we don't actually touch the processors anymore. Okay. So, typically, ang ginagawa ng desktop support is nag-upgrade siya ng memory kung kulang and nagsa-swap out siya ng hard drive. That's it. Okay. Very seldom siyang mag-ayos mismo ng buong computer in terms of the motherboard, the power supply, and others. Kasi, you have to remember, okay, as a desktop support engineer, may oras ka bang, so forward lang natin, may oras ka bang mag-ayos ng computer ng bawat isa dito? Uubusin na ng oras mo. Okay? There are many tasks and projects that you have to concentrate on aside from just fixing computers all day long. Okay? Kasi maraming tatawag sa'yo eh. Maraming tumatawag sa'yo na magpapatulong paano mag-migrate ng kanilang PST, yung sa Microsoft Outlook, from one computer to another. Hindi gumagana yung Citrix nila, so you have to troubleshoot bakit doon sa phone. And kailangan mong mag-push ng Windows updates to a certain computer or a certain user, or kailangan mo mag-install ng isang custom application sa isa sa mga employees na yan. And many more others. Okay? So, wala kang time, really, as a desktop support engineer to fix individual computers aside from replacement ng hard drive and memory. So, sino ang usually tinatawag natin to do that one? Yung mga computer technician. Yung mga computers na binibili natin ng mga kumpanya ninyo is primarily if they are coming from Dell, HP, or Lenovo. Usually may warranty yung mga yan eh. Or yung kumpanya is nag-avail ng extended warranty. Ang ibig sabihin nun is that if kailangan i-replace yung motherboard, the power supply, the fan, usually ang ginagawa ng desktop support dyan, they will call the third-party vendor of tatawagan nila si Dell. Basically, si Dell, si HP at Lenovo. Then yung computer technician na ipapadala ni Dell, sila na ang bahalang mag-troubleshoot for the replacement ng motherboard, ng power supply, for example, kung minsan din yung the hard drive and the memory, sila na bahala doon. Okay, so, that's the job scope ng computer technician. You have to remember din kasi, being an IT technically, we are susceptible to something called the firefighting mentality. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Dahil IT tayo, we can actually learn almost about anything technical in terms of the IT world. Ang problema nito, if you keep on trying to fix everything by yourself, you will actually be more unproductive sa work mo. And actually, this is counterproductive on your part kasi ang magiging response or magiging behavior ng mga taong sinusupport mo is ikaw lagi ang tatakbuhan nila for any and everything of their any problem itself. Tapos masaswamp ka lang ng trabaho. So you need to know how to delegate and you need to know yung limits kung hanggang saan yung kaya mong i-support. Yun yung gusto kong word na sabihin, i-support. Okay. So don't be the go-to person. Okay? Kasi mahihirapan ka lang sa isang IT department. Ang tawag dyan is the firefighting mentality. So let's move on. What do you expect when you get hired as a desktop support engineer? So ito, one of the biggest questions din na laging tinatanong sa akin. Ano nga ba ang pwede kong i-expect kapag na-hire ako sa isang trabaho basically as an IT? It's very normal for you to be nervous. Normal lang yan. Kahit ako, nung una kong pasok sa unang kumpanya ko, I was very nervous. That was in Makati, I think, around 2005. Nung unang first day on the job ko, I think dumating ako sa Makati. Nagising ako from Fairview ng around 3 a.m. Tapos, nag-commute ako from Fairview up until Makati. So, dati, during that time, I had to take either FX. May FX. Wala pang point-to-point dati. I had to take an FX from Fairview up until EDSA. Then, from EDSA, mag-MRT ako hanggang Makati. Okay, then jeep papuntang sa workplace ko, okay, sa Hilpuyat. So, nung unang dating ko ron, I think dumating ako sa workplace ko ng around 7. Okay, so pinapawisan ako, hindi ako mapakali. I was very nervous. Nakailang kape pa nga ako nun sa may McDo. I think 3. Tapos pancakes. Pero I was really nervous during that time. Then pagpasok ko sa office, yun, ang dami kong nakilala. Inintroduce ako sa buong team. And really, it's ang gusto ko lang iparating sa inyo is it's okay to be nervous. And it's normal to be nervous. So, ano pang kailangan mong i-expect kapag papasok ka as a desktop support engineer? You will be introduced to your coworkers, fellow desktop support engineers, and yung mga ibang IT professionals sa department inyo, yung mga network engineers, the managers, the directors. Ipapakilala ka, okay, sa lahat ng mga yan. So, you have to know their names. That's number 1 tip. Okay? You have to immediately remember their names. So, gamitin nyo yung mga name memorization techniques. You have to use, for example, you have to use immediately their name para maalala mo yung, ma-associate mo yung pangalan nila sa mukha nila, and many more techniques like that. Pero you will be meeting new persons. Marami kang bagong taong makikilala. So, ano pa ang kailangan mong tandaan whenever you're starting as a desktop support engineer? Ang number 1 na dapat nadala mo sa workplace, aside from doon sa bag mo, pagkain mo, or may baon ka or something, the number 1 item na dapat nadala mo is a notebook and a ball pen. Basically, itong pinakamalaking tip na pwede ko ibigay sa inyo. Whenever you're starting a new job as an IT professional, you need to bring a ball pen and a notebook. Bakit? During your first 30 to 60 days, ng trabaho mo as a desktop support engineer. Let's just take this video as a desktop support engineer. Yung unang 30 to 60 days mo, you will be learning so many things so fast that you cannot really just memorize it at one go. You have to put it down into paper, lagay mo dyan sa notebook mo, kasi you will be learning new passwords. Although I don't recommend you write it here, pero based from my experience, yung mga initial passwords mo, you will be writing it down kasi hindi mo siya kaagad tatandaan, pati yung mga access mo to the different systems sa SCCM, sa installations, yung employee IDs mo, and many more others. Yung mga details na yung kailangan mo isulat. Pero I don't recommend you leave it on a secured place. Lagi mo dapat dala yun. And eventually, huwag kayong mag-alala. Yung mga passwords eventually matatandaan mo eh. Pero for the first 30 to 60 days, lahat ng ituturo sa'yo, lahat ng mga kailangan mong tandaan, you have to put it in notes. Okay? Take it down. Kasi mabobombard ka talaga ng information. You will be touching technologies that you haven't really used before and have knowledge about. And yun, marami kang matututunan. Okay? So you need to write everything down. And don't worry, lahat naman ng mga sinabi kong mga technologies sa inyo, ituturo naman sa iyo yan eh. The best teacher in life is really experience. And yung mga fellow teammates mo sa IT department, whether the network engineer yan, or the server engineer yan, system administrator, or yung mga fellow desktop support engineers mo, they are willing to help you. Okay? They are willing to help you and they are willing to teach you kung ano yung mga kailangan gawin as a desktop support engineer. Okay? So, hindi ka nila basta-basta pababayaan na lang. You have to remember they have to teach you para you can be independent as fast as possible para mas mabawasan yung workload nila. You have to remember kasi kulang sila ng tao dati. And mas mataas yung workload nila. Pero nung pumasok ka as the new desktop support engineer, if they don't teach you, you won't be productive you won't be as productive as the team itself. So, ganun pa rin yung workload nila. Pero pag tinuruan ka nila, you will slowly actually learn the things that you need to learn and unti-unti kang makakatulong sa kanila. Okay? And from that point, unti-unti ring nababawasan yung mga issues and troubleshooting na kailangan nilang gawin to the point na equal na kayo ng workloads. Okay? So, there will come a time na alam mo na rin lahat ng alam nila and you can be independent already and they don't have to teach you that much anymore. Okay? Pero usually, ang tinuturo sa inyo is more on the easy stuff first kasi baguhan ka lang. Then, over time, they will start teaching you more advanced stuff, more advanced technologies until makuha mo siya. Okay, so ano yung mga career paths na pwede nyong puntahan? Okay, once you become a desktop support engineer. So, after a couple of years being a desktop support engineer, you now have an option to go to other career paths as well. So, ano yung mga career paths na yun? Unang-una, network engineer, since may basic knowledge ka na how the network works in your company, you can actually start specializing being a network engineer, and if there is an opening for a network engineer, you can now start to apply to that position. So, step up ka na. Okay? Ka na all-around desktop support. You're now more into the specialized track ng pagiging isang network engineer. Ano pa? You can also start to go into the server path naman as well. So, kung paano i-set up yung SCCM or yung endpoint manager na sinasabi ko sa inyo, or paano i-set up yung Active Directory and yung domain controllers ng kumpanya ninyo, then server track na ang pwede mong pag-applyan dyan. Okay, you eventually move on to the server track. Ano pa? Data center. Kung medyo malaking kumpanya yung kumpanya ninyo, more into parang Google or Facebook, you can actually start going into the data center track as well. Ganun din, marami ka pang paths. You can also eventually become the IT manager itself or the IT director. So you're now moving from a technical position into a management position. Pero lahat yung natutunan mong skills will actually help you doon sa management position na yan. So, ang ibig sabihin lang nito, meron ka ng sarili mong staff under you ng mga desktop support engineer, and you as the IT manager will be managing them. Okay? Then, ganun din. Once you move into the director position, then meron ka ng mga IT managers under you. Okay, so, gradual progression. Marami pa tayong career paths coming from the desktop support engineer. You can specialize in wireless, specialize in IT security. Pero usually, the basic entry point for a company is yung desktop support engineer position. Kasi diyan ka talaga matututo. Ang dami mong matututunan dyan sa position na yan. It might be, sa una, yung sweldo mo might be low. Pero over time, it will, as you get more skills and you learn more and you get more experience sa career mo, then that's the time you can now actually haggle and get the increases sa may salary mo. So kung lilipat ka ng kumpanya, ang kagandahan nun, lahat ng natutunan mong skills from your previous company, you can actually apply it also on that new company, pero mas mataas lang sweldo mo. Okay? So, let's go to the skill sets lang. Ilista ko lang lahat ng mga sinabi ko sa inyo para tong summarization. So, ano ba yung skill sets na kailangan for the desktop support engineer position? You need to know computer assembly, how computers work, and how to assemble them. You also need to be able to do computer diagnostics if a hardware failure occurs or something goes wrong with the computer. You need to also be able to upgrade computers, primarily the hard drive and the memory. Okay. Very seldom, or kung nasa maliit kang kumpanya, then that's the time you need to also know how to upgrade the processor. Okay, so wala tayong pinag-uusapang graphics card dito kasi you're now in the corporate world. Tapos na ang gaming phase mo. Okay. Ang gaming phase mo na lang siguro pag nasa bahay ka. Pero since you're now working, wala nang gaming doon. Okay? So siguro mag-Mobile Legends ka na lang sa phone mo pag break mo. Okay. Ano pa? You need to be an expert in terms of software and hardware, operating system installation, application installation, identifying kung ano yung next upgrade ng mga computers, or identifying ano yung next computer brand or computer specifications na kailangan bilhin ng kumpanya ninyo. You have to know that one. Ano pa? Operating system installation and maintenance. Pero you will also start to learn yung mga advanced methods of operating system installation, primarily imaging and OS deployments on a large scale using Endpoint Manager. Custom software support, yung mga custom applications ng kumpanya, you have to know how to install, maintain, and support those applications. Ganun din, software repair. Uninstall, reinstall. Yun naman yung usually na ginagawa natin. Install the license. Yan. So, ang recommendation ko sa inyo, also, don't use crack software sa inyong kumpanya. Okay? That just leaves yung company nyo vulnerable to hacking and ransomware. Okay? So, you have to know na wag kayo masyadong, kahit na medyo nagtitipid yung kumpanya ninyo, don't really let them feel that you can actually circumvent yung need ng having licensed software. Kasi napaka-importante nan. At the end of the day, pag ikaw nag-deploy ng crack software sa inyong kumpanya, tapos nagkaroon ng ransomware at nawala lahat ng files ng sa network ninyo, or kumalat yung ransomware na yun, na encrypt lahat yung files ng mga employees, sinong babalikan nan? Kayo. Kasi ikaw yung nag-install ng crack software na yun eh. Okay, so as much as possible, install legit software. Okay. So, ano yung mga advanced skills na matututunan nyo? You don't necessarily need to know this to apply as a desktop support engineer. Pero if you have already the skills for this one, then that's very good. I congratulate you for doing the initiative of learning more advanced stuff. Pero for those who don't have these skills yet, itong mga nasa red, it's okay. You can still apply as a desktop support engineer and matututunan mo to pagdating mo sa workplace. So, ano yung mga ito? Basic networking skills, VLAN changes, IP addressing, structured cabling, patch panel management, cable repair, ano pa? Basic server administration skills, Active Directory and Endpoint Manager for deploying operating systems, patches, and softwares. So, yun yung mga matututunan nyo. Pero ang number one soft skills is, hindi ito yung technical skills na kailangan mo pag-aralan. Soft skills is ito yung initiative mo. Okay? Ang number one soft skills na kailangan mo, really, as a desktop support engineer, is the ability to learn new things. Kasi sa dami ng bagong technologies na hahawakan mo at i-maintain mo, you need to know them as fast as possible. So you need to have the ability to learn new things. And really, sa pagiging isang IT, this is the number one requirement sa ating career. Hindi ka dapat, you need to keep on learning. Kasi yung pace ng technology natin is so fast. Usually, yung mga ginagamit mong technology 2 years ago might not actually be the technology that you're going to be using today. So, you need to learn new technologies always. Keep on learning. Yun ang message na gusto ko ibigay sa inyo. Being an active listener is also good kasi you have to remember, tatawag yung mga employees sa'yo sa telepono mo. Then, sasabihin nila yung issue sa'yo or makikita mo na lang sa email yung issue nila na naka-describe doon yung na-encounter nila, and then you have to actually interpret that into a troubleshooting or in an IT lingo, kumbaga, for you to be able to troubleshoot kung ano yung nagiging problema nila. So, you need to be an active listener. You need to listen ano yung mga naging problema nila and you have to troubleshoot it accordingly. So, phone skills is very necessary. And also, personal skills. Kunyari, pumunta ka sa lamesa niya and you have to talk ano yung nagiging problema ng computer niya. Then, that's where active listening comes in. Then, yun nga, problem solving kasi marami ka isa-solve. Okay. And you also need to be a researcher kasi kung minsan yung problem na sinasolve mo, hindi mo talaga magets. Then, you go to forums, you go to Google, and you research. Okay? Kung paano siya isolve. Or you find other people sa internet who had the exact similar issue and how they solved it. Yun basically ang kailangan mong hanapin. And also good analytical skills. And yun, customer service. So, anong trainings and IT certifications ang kailangan mong kunin as a desktop support engineer? Primarily, you can still go with computer hardware and servicing. I think meron ng bagong pangalan si TESDA dito. But, wala naman nagbago. Pangalan lang naman nagbago. Pero yung tinatakal doon is still the same. How to do basic computer management, basic networking, basic server administration. Yun yung tinuturo dito. Okay, you can get this one from TESDA. Pero ang recommendation ko sa inyo, you need to get CompTIA Plus certification. This is more for desktop support certification. And really, kung may balak ka ring mag-abroad, ito usually yung hahanapin sa'yo as a desktop support engineer. Then, once you have done or had experience already for a couple of years being a desktop support engineer, then you now have an option to move up to the different IT career paths na pwedeng ma-open sa'yo. So, ano yung mga ito? You can now go with the server administration certification path, which is usually Microsoft. Kung gusto mo naman maging network engineer, then you go with Cisco. And if you're going to be going into the management career track, IT manager or IT director, then you need to know yung ITIL. ITIL stands for Information Technology Information Library. Basically, ang tinuturo sa ITIL is how do you manage and maintain, okay, the IT infrastructure and IT solution, from service management to problem resolution. Yan, maraming tinuturo dyan sa ITIL. Pero that is a more advanced topic. We'll tackle that one in a future video. So that's it for our video. Medyo napahaba siya, pero hopefully marami kayo natutunan kung ano yung ginagawa ng isang desktop support engineer. So that's it for this video. Make sure you like and subscribe pala yung Facebook ko dito. Okay? Follow me, like and follow me in Facebook. So lalagay ko yung Facebook page ko dito. Then also make sure to hit the subscribe button sa YouTube channel ko para marami pa akong, this is to help me do more videos like this. And also punta kayo sa beltran.com and make sure you choose the IT veteran path there. And pwede nyo i-download doon yung aking ebook, which is the IT interview scripts and salary negotiation tactics for IT professional, para whenever you're applying for an IT position, alam nyo yung mga common questions na tinatanong ng HR tsaka ng mga mag-interview sa inyo. And also doon sa ebook na yan, tinuturo ko paano magkaroon ng or paano gawin ang salary negotiation kapag ikaw na yung final candidate na napili, para pwede kang humirit ng konting extra sa sweldo mo, at least pambayad ng mobile plan mo or pang dagdag gas sa motor mo or something, rather than just taking kung ano yung in-offer sa'yo. So that's it for this video. Hopefully marami kayo natutunan, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye!